we're going to do a adjustment of reed gap on Ras's Harp here. Come down and see they're here. Maybe we can, okay. Well, there's a couple of things to keep in mind when you're doing adjustment of reed gaps. I use a dental tool, a tool that would be used, let's say, for scraping material off teeth, calcium deposits, stuff like that. It has a sharpish tip. However, these have been slightly dulled. The trick, see, the problem with the reed gap is that if the reed gap is a little bit too small, the instrument will choke up when you're playing it. The reed will stop sounding. If the reed gap is too large, like that one is a little bit too large, then it'll be airy in play, not quite airtight. I'm probably not going to speak too much while I'm doing this because I have to concentrate quite a bit, but I'll talk when I'm done a little bit. I use magnification glasses, a big light, that monster light, this light. You can never have too much light when you're working on stuff like this. Now, all right. Under normal circumstances, I would lay this down to do it, but I'm not going to do that this time because it's a bass harp and it's got these monster reeds that have stuff soldered on, and if I lay it down on those, it's going to push and it could change the reed gap. So they're so fat that if I lay it down, it could change the reed gap there. So another safe way to do it would be like this. See where it overhangs and I'm holding it? And then I can take each one and study it. Okay, now when I adjust the reed gap, I tap gently at a certain position. It has to be dead in the middle because I don't want to put a twist into it. So we're right. You can't see me. That's not good. I don't really have the gear to make these videos correctly. It should be a holder on the head. All right, got that one. Better. Better. Good. All right. Let's see. Na, na, na. Yep. one's fixed. I'm gonna go put it up in a storage area. I don't know if you knew this, but the reeds that are visible when you take apart your harp and you take the covers off, the ones you see, those are draw reeds. All these are draw reeds, but the rest savers, of course, are all blow. So we'll come over here. Let's take a look here. And like a lot of work, it's craftsmanship. You have to know where they should be. You don't measure these necessarily with feeler gauges. It's just, yeah, okay. Okay. I don't know, maybe I can show you that. If you have one that's towards the smaller reeds that's sticking up higher than like the one to its left or to the right, like this gap here is obviously too big when you can compare it with its neighbors. You can do it that way. That's a comparative approach, but still you kind of at some point have to have some grasp of where they truly need to be, not just on a comparative basis. Okay, so now see, I haven't laid the reed plate down to push, again, because these monster reeds at the back end will just, they could change the setting of that reed gap. I don't want to, make things worse. Okay. This doesn't necessarily change. I mean, in its extremes, it changes whether it's playable. Most of the time, it just affects the air tightness. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now, thing about reed gap adjustment is that it's done from experience. You're not going to find some spec in a book to read. It's also very easy to ruin reeds. There's a lot of risk of damaging reeds. There's another thing is if you bend a reed badly and then you try to unbend the reed, you probably could get it to play, but it would never respond exactly like the new reeds. So you have to be very careful where you touch. You saw that I touched the reed not towards the floating free end, but more towards closer to where it was attached, about 3/8 of an inch off, right around there. And it was tap, 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 tap. I don't do anything heavy. Just, I can always do a little more. Now, if they get down too tight and you have overdone it, then you could take a razor blade, an industrial razor blade, slip it under there, and lever it back up again. That's a tough game, though. You might cause problems there. And of course, the other thing is very, very common for people to damage breast savers when they're doing this. So it tends to be not cheap because there's risks of damaging the reeds, risks of damaging the breast savers, reeds. There are problems with changing the intonation of the sound of the reed itself. Anyway, that is adjusting the reeds.